This is Tim von Pinnon. Today, we're supposed to have a Mr. G. Brian Benson to interview. So we're wondering if he's called in yet. He's a award-winning author, actor, filmmaker, an inspirational speaker. His mission is to wake up the world with conscious media that inspires. He's been involved in the Ironman triathlons 4 times, the Google information says. My intent for being on Blog Talk Radio is to present the New You song. It goes, New You. The person does that with sincerity to try to find out about why they're here, maybe 10, 15 minutes before they go to sleep, and maybe 10 or 15 minutes when they wake up in the morning. The real universal guides will see that they're trying to make the connection so that they could have real guidance and a real education about why we came into this physical realm for the experiences here so that we can wake up all the way to get into the real universes. We have to earn our way. So we could talk about things like our 5 bodies, or we could talk about the reptilians, talk about the air having pollution in it, and the ocean having pollution, and even our food seems to have changed from its original health benefits into stuff that they try to make taste good but may not be very good for our bodies. Talk about what is important in life and what our real intent is about.
Yeah, Tim, could you tell us what you see has real value in life as opposed to, say something else?
Yeah. If a person is trying to understand about why life is the way it is, we see all these things taking place, especially nowadays with this modern technology, and finding out about all the information that's being provided about so many things, it seems endless. This new presentation is an opportunity for people at this time to wake up all the way, for those who are ready. And the real guides know who is ready. And this is part of the wonderful worldwide educators, the real universal guides, so they can get a real education and real guidance. We see all the world being in a terrible situation at the present. Wars and starvation and murders and all kinds of things that we wouldn't want to be living in on this earth. So the opportunity is being offered. There are books by Dwayne, the great writer, that help with the guidance and the education and lead us into our dream visions to be with the universal guides, trying to do wonderful things for all.
Tim, do you think you could tell us how your life has changed since you found Dwayne the Great Rider in the new presentation?
Yeah. Since I found out about the wonderful worldwide educators, this new presentation that's being provided, I've become aware of being what's called human farmed by reptilian alien tapliners, a very advanced alien race of beings that seem to live off of our energy. So that's why we are tap-lined in our dreams quite a bit. So it's very important and for a person to have this opportunity to connect with the universal guides. So we have protection from these reptilian alien tapliners. And the opportunity of being able to find out how we can earn our way out of this material realm into real universes. The 5 bodies that we have, the physical and the astral and the causal and the mental, the etheric, are vehicles to have these experiences, to see what isn't real so that we can learn what is real. The new presentation and the real universal guides give a person courage. They don't have to be afraid of the aliens taplining them, because they give a protection to their, let's call us, new students. There's so much going on the earth that's destroying it. We see the poison from the atomic stuff going on into the ocean from Japan and other places too, like Russia had its accident years ago, and so did we in the United States, releasing that poisons into the air that we breathe, and then we have the chemtrails that are seeming to be dumping things that aren't good for the human body all over the place, and it's going all over the world. The air gets polluted by all the vehicles with their carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide. I guess it's carbon monoxide in the air. If it probably wasn't for the trees being able to take it in and give us oxygen, we'd probably not even be alive now physically, from all the amount of the poison air that's been created. So our food, water, and air seem to be getting worse. And it looks like it's under the control of the powers that be, the reptilians and all their flunkies on this earth that do what the reptilians want them to do. So who want to come back to a planet that's even worse than at the present? So if a person has the opportunity to not reincarnate here, unless it's to come back and be helpful for the beings that still need help and are at that point where they'll be acceptive of help. Sounds like it'd be a lot better to get to the real universes where everyone is a free being of real light, as we have a being called Rebazar Tars and Paul Twitchell and Yabel Sakabi, and Fubi Kwans, Mami Nuri, Gopal Das, Tata Daki, Laisi, Toart Menaji, Rami Nuri. We have in the physical Dwayne Hepner and Ava as universal seers. And their purpose is to be giving us this opportunity to wake up all the way. Is there anybody that would like to talk about anything in their life about this new presentation, about their projects, or we're trying what our intent is?
Yeah, hi Tim. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi Val. I can hear you.
Good. We do have projects all over the world. We're setting up, or we actually have a university right now. It's online, but it's called Nations United Universal University. And we have a new school, homeschool as well. The idea is to educate, or to give people and children an opportunity to gain another type of education that's not literal. It's actually a greater and bigger view than what is provided normally with the standard education. So this is more in line with how the indigenous people taught their children. I was reading about one was actually a few tribes where they didn't really have any curriculum. Actually, most of them didn't have any curriculum. The kids would just follow the adults around, and they would be shown different things. Adults would role model, and the kids would pick it up just by watching. And there wasn't a lot of discipline because basically you're in it for survival, and the kids learn that pretty quickly that it's about survival, and so the education is geared toward what makes sense, what in their culture, food, water, protection, and shelter, clothing. Here we've gotten way out of hand here, way far off. Who talks about the environment in school? Is it even emphasized at all? Hardly, except for glancing chapter maybe in a social studies book or something. We're way off the mark. It's so distorted. It's the standard is so low. The standard is so distorted, and that's why we're here, basically, to help people see that there's another way. There's kind of gone off track. We're pointing at a bullseye here. We're pointing, at a target, and we've really gone off track, and people think it's normal. That's kind of the scary thing. It's like people think it's normal. That's the standard, and it's and when you bring things up that make sense, like protecting or living naturally and supporting the environment, they think you're a little bit odd. They think the technology will take care of that, or the government will take care of that. We look at Trump right now, or anybody in Congress, Senate. I mean, there's hardly a mention about the environment unless it's climate change, which has its own issues. Actually, I heard this morning on a radio show that it was either in North Carolina or one of the states down south. They passed a law that it's illegal to talk about climate change within the confines there of their meetings. I mean, how silly is that? Because they didn't, if you want to ignore something or if you want to deny something or make it go away, just make it a law according to them. So they can't even talk about, the officials can't even talk about anything that makes sense. So we're here just to provide a public service and show people that there's something more, and it's really a grand adventure. I'm finding from my own life that it's everything that I wanted from an adventure standpoint. It's anything you could ever. It's sometimes so overwhelming that you just have to like step back a little bit, take a breath, and then keep going, because life is huge. We're dealing with the whole of life here. And I'll just finish by one more kind of idea here. It's like when religions and spiritual paths talk about God, they have a very limited view of God, their God, some guy, some being, some entity, or some energy, or something, love. It's sort of vague. They don't really know their God. Whatever it is, it's very limited. And if you compare it to history and what people have gone through throughout history and consciousness of animals, consciousness, the aliens, you get into the galactic area. It's huge, so huge. Life is so huge. So to pin it down into like a God figure is sort of ridiculous. So what we do in the new presentation, we're dealing with the whole of life, and that is more of a creative kind of it's not a passive position like some of the religions or groups where you just join the group and you're okay, you think you're okay. Here you have to actually do something. Yeah, when I came in, I had this realization, I have to do something? So it's like that, and you get the satisfaction from that too, by doing something, contributing something, just like Tim, you are here with the radio show, and other listeners that are involved in the new presentation. It's like by doing something you really see it. It's about awareness and recognition, and this thing I'm talking about, this light, this whole of life, we begin to see little bits and pieces of it, or recognize it, or become, have perception of it. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Val. I just have a little quotation here of something that Dwayne, the great writer, said, that nothing exists in the allness life is except real freedom. The darkest shadows of ignorance and unawareness has been sold to the masses as a way of life, continues on until one seizes the opportunity to be guided out of all the misery of lifetimes of struggle. Such an opportunity we have right now for those that are ready, and the real guides know who is ready. And so we should be very thankful that we have the opportunity to try and help spread this light that's being given to the masses, that we've all gone through so many lifetimes and so much suffering, and here we are still going through so much of it. The world is mainly interested in sex and money and not paying attention to the ways that they destroy the environment they live in. So we see that there are causes and effects. And until people are ready to wake up and change what I guess are called habits, and trying to find better ways, what makes sense, instead of driving vehicles that burn fossil fuel and pollute the air. More and more of them are polluting the air constantly. To find ways to not be polluting the air, and not only that, to find ways to purify the air. The same goes for the ocean. With all the plastics of the earth and other pollutants being dumped in the ocean, it would make sense to find ways to clean the ocean, and that's part of what I understand is part of the work of the All Solar Research vessels that are in the process of becoming, in many ways, not just the cleaning of the ocean, but having a universal university for the people that are wanting to pay attention about what makes sense to have a better life. They're dealing with reptilians, and they seem to have the powers. They can shape shift. I guess they can take on any form, any physical appearance. So they get our agreement that certain things like blocking out the sun because of it heating up the planet too much with their chemtrails is actually making the environment, I guess, a better environment for them, but not for us. So many things that are going on the earth that most people aren't aware of. That's part of this awakening that the real guides and the real education provides. So people know, and the children have a better opportunity of paying attention, it seems like, than the adults.